Hey everyone, it's Burly Biceps here, and not 2 minutes ago, the Path of Exile 3.1.0 War for the Atlas patch notes have launched. So we're going to go through them today, kind of extensively, go over everything that I know, everything that is new, some stuff I probably don't know because I've only been playing the game since about less or more than halfway through Legacy League. So let's go ahead and get started. Path of Exile, War for the Atlas, major features. A mysterious entity known as the Elder haunts the Atlas of Worlds, spreading decay and battling the Shaper for control. For more information about the War of the Atlas, check out the War website. 32 new maps. New boss fight with the Elder and his four guardians, we knew that. Shaper and Elder items, we knew what that meant. These can only be obtained in Shaper and Elder influenced areas. Let's see. And they get higher and higher tier as you go. There's a new quest in Act 9 to fight the Queen of the Sands. It's a prerequisite quest. There's a prerequisite quest, which is the Stormblade, which is when you go fight the mummies. And you do not get the Book of Skill for completing the Stormblade anymore, so you have essentially the same number of skill points. And then you get rare weapons for the Stormblade. There are 48 unique items. They said over 50, so strange. Added 6 new divination cards. Added a new Dexterity Intelligence gem on Earth. We've seen videos for Unearth. We've seen Cremation. We've seen Body Swap. We've seen Volatile Dead. Vulnerability and Despair Change, which is not considered part of the new runes. Storm Barrier support we've seen. Volley support we've seen. Spell Cascade we've seen. So here we go. Here's the new one. Added a new Dexterity support gem, Mirage Archer support. Hitting an enemy with a supported bow skill creates a Mirage Archer who continues to use that skill for a duration. I wonder what the more or less modifiers are for that. So, say you link it to Barrage, gain Barrage arrow combination. I wonder if it counts for the number of arrows you have too. That'd be awesome. Added new 3D art for Malachi's Mark, Dahlia's Malefaction, Dendrobate, Hiltless, Void Battery, Red Blade Tramplers, and Lightning Coil. Added a new unique strongbox designed by one of our supporters. Added a new Rogue Exile based on the winner of the Best Dressed Exile competition. Still didn't see the other support gem. They said they said that Despair and Vulnerability Change did not count as the new gems. And that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's only 8 out of 10. We'll figure it out later. The Abyss League, Challenge League. Challenge Leagues are a greater opportunity for a fresh start. Yep, Challenge League. There's going to be hardcore and standard variants, usual. Let's see, explore the abyssal depths, monsters and chests, abyssal drop, abyssal jewels. We saw that. Challenges. All right. Minor features. The targeting behavior of mini skills has been improved, especially against large targets such as Kitava and Arakali. Updated for the item frames to fit the current user interface. Updated the stash chest model. So new, so shiny. That's hilarious. The tutorial has been slightly adjusted to better direct players who are having trouble very early on. Added a tutorial element for using portal scrolls and improved the waypoint tutorial. Added a visible tutorial barrier to the entry of Lion's Eye Watch, which vanishes after a passive skill point is applied. So kind of like the tutorial barrier when you are trying to equip your support gem, the big red wall of you can't pass. You can now open the help panel by pressing tilde. This can be changed in the options menu. You can now dismiss help panel notifications by right-clicking them. They will disappear by themselves after 6 seconds. You can now turn divination cards in at Navali in the epilogue town or in your hideout. The description of the divination card achievement, Soothsaying, has been updated to reflect this. The Forsaken Masters have moved back to Oriath and can now be found in the epilogue town. Okay, that's good. That means you can get all of them without having to hunt for them. An effect is now played on corpses which disappear due to hitting the corpse creation limit for skills like Desecrate and Earth. Values for ailments, such as Shock and Chill effectiveness, can now be viewed in the character panel. That's good. Added a system for scaling the visual effects of ailments based on the size of the monster. So, like if you, say, burn Katava. Added voice acting for many NPCs and story glyphs, which were missing them when they were added in the Fall of Oriath. Added images to the map pin hovers for areas added in the Fall of Oriath. Added an option to leave your current party to the character portrait drop-down menu. It's weird. The league selected on the drop-down menu on the character selection screen is now saved and will be the selected league whenever you open your client. Improved the quest rewards section user interface. Added a timer below each flask icon, which, with the flask, while the flask is active, displays the remaining duration of that flask's. Okay, so that's awesome. So you don't have to actually look up at your panel. You can look down at your HUD. Debuffs are now displayed on a separate line to buffs, flask effects, and charges. So, kind of like World of Warcraft will have their buff line and then their debuff line. Okay, that's actually good. Skills with modified cooldowns now show their final cooldown rather than the cooldown modifier. Monsters will now show their rarity as they are emerging. That's good. Challenges tab now displays the number of challenges you have completed at the top. The default minimum for dynamic resolution scaling is now set to 30 frames per second. You can change this to the options menu. I think that's to still stop that really bad lag. Improve the effect for monsters, rarity, and ailments. Added support for subsurfaces scattering. Check out the ice and candles. Optimize a lot of skills, areas, monsters, and effects. Continue to incrementally improve the sound, art, and effects of environments. Character balance. Intimidate now causes enemies to take 10% increased attack damage rather than 10% increased damage. So no more Intimidate Righteous Fire. No more Intimidate Shock Nova. Like that's a kick in the nuts to spellcasters. Like that's a big blow to spellcasters. Skill balance. Existing vulnerability skill gems are now despair gems. We knew that. Your minions and the minions will no longer deal or take damage while you are dead. So your minions become immortal when you're dead. So you play golems, cast on death golems, and then let your golems kill everything. Dark Pact no longer gains bonus radius. We saw that yesterday in the manifesto. Detonate Dead now deals spell damage based on the level of the skill gem, in addition to damage based on the corpse's maximum life. The base fire damage that dealt by the spell part of the explosion has been significantly increased. The skill now gains additional area of effect radius as it levels, and its base critical chance has been increased from 5 to 6%. The cast time has been lowered to 0.6 seconds, down from 0.8. I might be making a Detonate Dead build. That sounds fun. Raised Spectre now grants additional accuracy to Spectres based on the level of the gem. That's good, because Spectres can't hit anything. Bear Trap and Val Rain of Arrows now remove all movement speed as opposed to reducing it by 300. So it can oppressively stop everything, including bosses, maybe? That would be good. Raging Spirits now have a 15% less added damage multiplier, up from 30. Summoned skeletons now have a 50% more added damage multiplier, up from 30 less added damage. Whoa, that is a lot of that is a huge damage change. Raging Spirits, spiders created from Arakali's Fang, and the spirit skulls from the Essence of Insanity can no longer taunt their enemies. That's sad. The amount of burning damage dealt by the burning ground created by a burning arrow on a character with the pitch darkness threshold jewel is now determined by the level of the burning arrow skill gem. I've never used that skill, so I'm not really sure how that affects anything. Orb of Storms can now trigger lightning strikes from channeled skills. I don't use lightning strikes. I'm assuming that's Call Lightning. Desecrates now creates 5 corpses, up from 3. The cooldown has been reduced to 3 seconds per stack, down from 5. And the cast time has been reduced to 0.8 seconds, down from 1. Desecrate's maximum corpse level now grows more steadily as the skill gem levels up. It can now create higher level corpses at most levels, except level 19 of the gym, in which the maximum corpse level has been lowered from 100 to 81. So 100 at level 20, maybe? Lightning Tendrils has been reworked. It is now a channeled skill and deals more damage on every 4th pulse. It has received a visual overhaul. The new version hits slightly less frequently than previously, but has higher sustained damage overall. Minion life support now affects minion life multiplicatively. It now provides 30% more minion life rather than 30% increased minion life. That's good. At level 1 of the gem, up to 49% more life at level 20. Dark Pact now counts as being a minion skill gem and will thus interact with effects such as the one found in Cloak of Twalmer Isley? I don't know what that is. Ruthless support can no longer support channeled skills. That makes sense. Cyclone will no longer be supported by Ruthless. That's sad. That's a huge nerf to Cyclone. Ruthless does 49% multiplier on every 3rd hit. Pretty sure it's every 3rd hit. Let's go look real fast. Pretty sure it's every 3rd hit. $75% more multiplier at level 1. And it is not supported by it. So, I mean, that is a huge damage nerf to Cyclone. Iron Will can now support Summon Skeleton and will affect the damage dealt by Skeleton Mages if you are using the Dead Reckoning Threshold Jewel. Arctic Armor's Chill effect now slows enemies by 30% when you are hit, up from 10. Melee attacks supported by Multi-Strike now more accurately take attack range, including area of effect modifiers, into account when checking for targets for subsequent attacks. This has negatively impacted some skills and positively impacted others, but in general, melee skills supported by Multi-Strike will target monsters that better fit the behavior of the attack. So, Sunder. Bladefall's area of effect was wider than intended, close to the caster. The area of effect now better matches the area the blades visually land. The total width of Bladefall's area of effect has been increased slightly to compensate for the now narrower early stages. Stormburst now correctly modified by factors based on the state of the projectile, such as powerful precisions. Projectiles have 100% increased critical strike chance against targets they pierce. Charge Dash is now limited to a maximum of 15 strikes per skill use, as well as limited by distance traveled. Static Strike's radius has been increased from 19 to 20, bringing its total radius to 24 at gym level 20. Static Strike's Explosion now correctly applies ailments with 40% less effect. It was previously applying ailments without taking the less damage modifier into account. Ice Crush's radius has been increased from 8 to 9 for the first stage, and 16 to 18 for the second stage, and 24 to 26 for the third stage. Earthquake's radius has been increased from 25 to 28 for the second stage. Reeve's radius has been increased from 17 to 20, bringing it up to 24 at gym level 20. Wither now increases chaos damage taken by 6%, down from 7, and stacks up to 15 times, down from 20. We knew that one yesterday. Val Power Siphon's radius has been reduced to 70 units, down from 120. Divination cards. The location drop rates and requirements for many divination cards have been reworked, in part due to the changes to the Atlas in this patch, and in part to better integrate divination cards into areas introduced in the Fall of Oriath. Life Regeneration mods have been slightly renamed and reordered as 2 higher tiers have been added. Life Regeneration mods on rare items have been buffed across the board, with the existing highest tier mode now granting up to 20 life per second. Existing items can be updated to these new values with Divine Orbs. When using a belt, Essence of Insanity now grants 10% increased movement speed during any flask effect, up from 5. Atlas-only item base types can no longer be found in Val side areas. Unique item balance. At Zeri's Acuity, we saw that yesterday. Witchfire Brew, we saw that yesterday. Doomfletch, we knew. Doomfletch Prism. Kongming's Stratagem no longer creates a smoke cloud when a socketed trap is triggered. Instead, grants the Fog of War skill, which creates a smoke cloud when any type of your traps are triggered. This skill has a cooldown. Lion's Roar now only grants knockback to melee attacks during the flask effect, so again, another rip to spellcasters. Lycosidae. Chance to drop from monsters has been greatly reduced. This item was being used on a significant portion of melee characters across all levels and an extremely cheap way to get around accuracy requirements. So, rip every accuracy build ever. Bisco's Collar. Chance to drop for monsters has been greatly reduced. Rip Bisco's. We knew it was going to happen. Queen of the Forest now has a 200 to 240% increased evasion rating, down from 240 to 380. This change can be divined, and you don't want to. The movement speed bonus this item can provide has been capped at 100% for all versions, which is a internal thing, not a listed thing, so we can't do anything about that. Rise of the Phoenix, max and fire resistance granted has been reduced to 5% from 8%. Life regeneration has been increased to 15 to 20 per second from 6. These changes can be divined. New versions now also grant 40 to 60 life, and it cannot be divined. Omen of the Winds now grants Ice Shot. Now allows Ice Shot to pierce 3 additional targets, down from 5. Can be divined. I don't understand that. Nobody uses Pierce on Ice Shot anyway. The Dancing Dervish. While Manifest Dancing Dervish is active, the Dancing Dervish now has a 25% chance to grant a Rampage kill when it hits a unique enemy. The minion created by this unique can no longer cross unwalkable gaps. These changes affect all versions of the item. The Pandemonious. The chilling effect now slows enemies by 30% when you are hit. The Baron now adds half of your strength to your minions rather than all your strength. So another nerf to minion builds. Death's Oath now properly updates its behavior when items passes their skills change it in some way. And then Axiom. Clarified the freeze duration is based on energy shield. Monster balance. New monsters have been added to areas all throughout Rayclast and Oriath, including newer, more difficult versions of the parasites found throughout Act 6 and 7. I'm assuming those are like the parasites we see crawling out of the rifts in the Abyss League. And Katavified versions of the Blackguards found in Act 5. The number of monsters found in areas throughout the campaign have been adjusted, and the number of monsters found throughout the game should be more consistent across multiple instances. This particularly affects the Old Fields, the Val Ruins, the Sewers, the Marketplace, the Battlefront, the Ebony Barracks, and the Crystal Veins, but is not strictly limited to those areas. The following unique monsters are no longer immune to freeze, and instead have a minimum action speed that they will set if they are frozen. The Shaper, the Guardian of the Chimera, Guardian of the Minotaur, Guardian of the Hydra, Guardian of the Phoenix, Vision of Justice, the Goddess Argus, Abaxeth, the End of All That Is, Host, Unrelenting Frost, Atziri, Queen of the Val, Vessel of the Val, Atziri's Devoted, Kajalai, Kaj-Yaratz, Kaj-Kara, Alai, Yazaratz, Korra, and the Tormented Temptress. Monsters which trigger skills based on the damage they take can no longer can now trigger those skills from taking damage over time. Infested monsters can now spawn parasites when slain, can now grant increased experience and drops when shattered or exploded to compensate for them not releasing their parasite on death. Okay. Shield crabs now give additional experience if destroyed before they would unleash their final form. Crimson scholars now give additional experience if shattered. Monster mods reflect physical damage and reflect elemental damage have been reworked. They now appear as nemesis mods. Attacking a monster with physical or elemental reflect now triggers a mortar spell targeted at your location. The spell has an internal cooldown. Both versions of reflect now only appear on nemesis rare monsters. The effects created by Flamebearer, Frostbearer, and Stormbearer bloodline monsters now appear more quickly and should be more clearly visible. The Rhysolotha fight in Act 6 has been significantly changed. Rhysolotha's eggs now explode and create damaging patches on the ground, and Rhysolotha herself is much more mobile. The monsters spawned by her pods are possessed by more difficult parasites. Rhysolotha herself is now immune to knockback. Lightning Thorn skill, used by the Blackguard mages as well as others, no longer deal a flat amount of reflected lightning damage to attackers. Instead, it triggers a nova of lightning projectiles with a short cooldown. The parasite infecting Hollow Skull, the Willing Host, is now called Encephalophage. That's cool. Encephalophage can now leap slam. Parasites now drop off slain monsters will match their host's rarity. Riptide now better signals when it uses its dangerous skills and creates fewer vortexes. Captain Arteri and Captain Aurelianus can now drop items. Carrion Borrowers now visually distinct from the surface-dwelling counterparts. The life and damage of Warbands monsters has been adjusted to make them suitable map bosses. The beams in the Avarius Reassembled encounter now have more pattern variations. They also deal less damage, but the damage persists for a duration after you have been touched. The beams in the Katao Defiler of Light encounter have had the same treatment. Malagaro's slam attacks in Acts 7 and 9 now always poisons and maims on hit. Sulfuric Striders and Undying Operators can no longer appear in Essence monoliths. The bloodstained skeletons found in the Bloody Aqueducts have been made slightly more difficult. Effigy of Fear's crows now deal more damage. Improved the Tolman encounter in Act 8. Tolman and the Ankh can now use a few extra skills. Katarina missions, which require you to find, raise, and kill an undead monster, now use different on-death effects. Reduce the amount of damage taken by the Pillars of Carnage rune explosion. Shavron's Ball Lightning in Act 6 and 9 now deal more damage and has a clearer area of effect. The skill also deals less damage at close range. Shavron's Stormburst in Act 9 now fires an additional projectile. It can no longer stun, and it deals less damage to players at close range. Shavron's Summoned Books now have more life and deal approximately 35% more damage. I hate these words. Death's Worship now deals physical damage with her projectile Nova. Her Raging Spirits now deal more damage at lower levels. Gruth's Bandits allies now flee when he dies, so you don't keep finding a bunch of them. Doedra's Spirit is now a little quicker at raising zombies in Act 9. Doedra in Act 9 no longer repeatedly summons a large number of stone pillars. The pillars now die when the encounter ends. Significant portions of the Depraved Tritony encounter have been reworked. In particular, Malagario's Bladefall and Chevron's Ball Lightning have undergone large changes. The damage of Katava's X-Blast, the skill shaped like an X, has been lowered slightly in Act 10. The Bear Acolytes in Act 6 now move more quickly. Braincrack now has a sweet suit of crackling new skills. Clockwork Golems no longer simply flee. Instead, they will move around you and to your base on different conditions. Their damage has been increased by 25%. Reduce the damage dealt by the Harbinger of Discord Holy Mortar and the duration of its Holy Spark. The Augmented Dead in Chamber of Sins in Act 7 no longer have a chance to launch a Lightning Soul on death, which is good because that was just weird. Dawn now has a Throne can now throw his shield. It will explode into smaller projectiles. Dusk has a new projectile skill called Carpet Bomb, and it doesn't make your floors more comfortable to walk on. The Window Shard monsters in Act 10 now deal more damage, have more life, and resist all elements instead of just cold. They spawn in fewer numbers and are larger. They now have altered behavior to be less likely to use all of their rolling attacks immediately. Plague Wretch in the Chamber of Sins now has some friends he can hang out with. Sin and Innocent are now a little more dynamic during the Act 10 finale. The Basilisk now has a stone gaze ability. If you face each other during this ability, you become petrified. The petrification is similar to freeze, but it is removed if you are hit a number of times or the duration runs out. The Blood-Soaked Fallen and the Blood Aqueduct now explode on death, sending corrupted blood projectiles in all directions. Tukohama's Vanguards no longer summon multiple totems at a time while spectered, and the duration of their totems have been lowered to 5 seconds from 10. They are less likely to place additional totems while they have at least one totem. Wickerman's Righteous Fire damage has been lowered while spectered. These monsters were using a version of Righteous Fire not intended for specters and were dealing significantly more damage than intended as a result. This change brings them in line with other specters who use Righteous Fire. Map balance. The entire LS has been reworked. Many maps have been map names have changed, and as have their balance, tier, and position on the LS. Many maps have also had their boss fights swapped or completely reworked. The rules used to generate monsters in in-game maps have been significantly reworked and rebalanced around the rate at which we expect players to reliably clear the map. In general, narrow linear maps will have fewer total monsters than maps with complex layouts. We will be closely monitoring and adjusting the balance of this change and expect to make further changes and improvements over time. Map mods have also been rebalanced, and every mod now provides increased item rarity, which we knew that, increased item quantity, and we knew that, and increases monster pack size, though the magnitudes are dependent on the difficulty of the mod. Malkun, monsters no longer gain power and endurance charges every 20 seconds, as this was constantly causing performance problems. These monsters now have a chance to gain these charges on hit. The number of monsters that appear in this map have been reduced, but the area now grants an increase to experience gained to compensate. Added a new map prefix, Feasting, areas inhabited by cultists of Kataba, which is good. Something to tie in 3.0. Many monsters which appeared in Act 5 through 10 but did not appear in maps have been added to maps. Map bosses which have multiple forms or phases no longer count as multiple map bosses for the sake of achievements and challenges. Suncaller Asha's Leap Slam ability has been rebalanced and now has a 4-second cooldown. Rektar can now smack around players who are standing too close to walls. Purge Hounds now come out of the gates from further away and will pursue players for longer distances. Water Elementals and their variants now appear in packs as a mix of visible and hidden monsters, as opposed to all hidden or all visible. The boss of the Death and Taxes unique map now moves 35% faster while immune to damage, which is good because that fight is slow because of it. Roa map bosses now regain 33% of their maximum life whenever you break one of their nests. Added a pack of magic monsters to the boss rooms and maps that were missing them. Monsters now appear closer to the entrance in Oba's Cursed Trove. The Hallowed Ground unique map is now on the Cemetery base type. Passive tree changes. The Val Pact has been significantly reworked as no longer grants instant life leech and instead doubles your rate. Has been moved into the Duelist area. We saw that earlier. The passive skills behind Mind Over Matter now grant 10% increased mana, down from 12. That's on non-notable. And 30% increased mana, down from 40. And adds 40 mana, down from 100. The Hemotophy Notable now grants 3% maximum life leech rate. The Vitality Void now grants 3%. Passive skills, which previously granted increased melee physical damage while holding a shield, now grant increased physical damage while holding a shield. It's no longer restricted to melee, so you can use wands? I don't think you can use wands with shields. That doesn't make any sense to me. Many passive skills, which previously only provided defensive bonus while using a shield, now grant increased physical attack damage and damage with ailments while holding a shield. Removed one of the passive skills leading to the Ash, Frost, and Storm notable. Ascendancy balance changes. Slayer no longer grants Brutal Fervor, which is sad, but whatever. It'll still be fine. Pantheon. The map bosses you are required to defeat to upgrade your Pantheon have, for the most part, changed. Shikari has been added to the Pantheon. Can't wait to see what that actually does. Labyrinth changes. Added a new Dark Shrine effect that can only be found in the Eternal Labyrinth. Changed the requirements for some chests to appear. In general, chests should feel more rewarding and better suited for their level and difficulty. Increase the total amount of items found on average from silver chests, which is good because silver chests are garbage. The helmet chance, which granted additional projectiles for barrage, have been removed from the Merciless Lab and moved to the Eternal Lab. Xana's League mods, now available during 3.1. Okay. Level 2 is Anarchy. Level 3 is Bloodlines. 4 is Beyond. 4 is also Fortune Favors the Brave. Okay. Random mod for 3 Chaos. Even those you haven't unlocked. So it could be Ambush, Domination, Essence, or Breach, or Anarchy, Bloodlines, or Beyond. That's pretty cool. Ambush, Domination, which is silly. I think 6 is silly. 7 is Essence, which again is silly, and then Breach. So we don't have the ability to get Headhunters. Because we don't have no easy way to Headhunter. Nemesis. No Nemesis League. That's interesting. It's going to make a lot of people really mad because it's going to make Headhunter even more of a chase unique. Because you're not going to be able to chance it. It's only going to be available from Doctor cards. Which is going to make Doctor cards ridiculously expensive. And they were already ridiculously expensive. Remove the level 60 Sarn Arena variant. Players who do not fit the requirements for the level 40 Sarn will be taken to the open Sarn Arena. And I don't care about PvP very much, but characters that entered the portal in Oriath at the end of Act 4 can no longer join low-level dueling queues. Death's Oath deals significantly less damage against players. PvP-only characters can no longer activate the map device. Bleeding, Ignite, and Poison now undergo PvP scaling based on the attack or cast some of the ailments for skills with time override the ailments that use. World changes. Completing the Mercy Mission quest now rewards players with the choice of a support gem as well as a flask. The Hedge Maze has been moved, and both the Chithius Plume and the Trial of Ascendancy have been moved into the Imperial Gardens. So they just removed Hedge Maze altogether because it was kind of useless, except for the Plum and the Trial of Ascendancy. Story glyphs have been added to areas all throughout Rayclass, but in particular the areas added in the Fall of Oriath. The Strange Barrel now contains many more ordinary non-swarming things. The fuel event in the beacon is now more involved, with extra monster packs spawning during the event. The Southern Forest, especially in Act 6, has been fleshed out. The Act 6 version can now generate Val-side areas. In the lead-up to the Depraved Trinity encounter, the heart entrances to Melagario, Chevron, and Doedra areas stop beating as you defeat the associated boss. So that's just a visual cool effect. Templar Stash in the Act 10 ossuary has been renamed to the Sealed Chest. It has been given a new model. Hargan no longer discusses the High Gardens, and talking to him about it is no longer required for the All Ears achievement. Added numerous variations to world areas throughout the campaign. Most areas, in particular areas added in the Fall of Oriath, have had several new possible layouts. Vol's Proclamation in the Western Forest is now destroyed in Part 2. You should check it out. It's pretty neat. Okay. Updated the minimap icons for doors and areas transitions that were missing them. Shrines should no longer appear directly outside Tukahama's fortress. Katava's arena is in Act 10 is now called the Altar of Hunger. That's cool. Malachi's journal no longer references an incorrect date. Prophecies. Rare monsters able to fulfill the requirements for unique item prophecies have been added in various locations throughout the world. They provide the opportunity to obtain an item with a high enough level to be 6-linked. That's cool. You're no longer required to have the subject of a fated unique prophecy equipped, and can now complete such prophecies by merely holding the item in your inventory, which is good. Because when you want to create a Doomfletch's Prism or a Diebel or any other number of, Death's Opus, you don't want to equip it as a melee character. The Prophecy of the Twins, which turn a non-twin map into a twin map, no longer grants 6% increased quantity of items found. The Prophecy Monstrous Treasure now completes upon opening the final strongbox in the area. Bug fixes. Lots and lots of bug fixes. But they're not giving me a lot of the numbers. Wonder if we can find the numbers in the... Yeah, I'm actually really, really excited about all the information. I just kind of wish they gave us some more numbers than they did. And they gave us some numbers, but they didn't give us the Shikari numbers. They didn't give us a lot of, some minor details. Exact percentages on some things. But I'm excited. I can't wait for Friday. All right, if you guys enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.